Level 1. Daniel Jones was supposed to save the New York Giants when they shocked everyone and drafted him 6th overall in 2019. Everyone believed Jones would be the franchise quarterback they'd been desperately searching for since Eli Manning's prime ended. Instead, he spent 5 years bouncing between elite performances one week and complete disasters the next, watching his career spiral into one of the most criticized quarterback tenures in recent NFL history. But in 2025 with the Indianapolis Colts, something changed. Jones was playing the best football of his career, leading his team to an 8-2 record and looking like the quarterback everyone thought he would be. Right when he was finally proving the doubters wrong, everything came crashing down on a rain-soaked field in Jacksonville. Coming into the NFL, Jones was seen as the smart, athletic quarterback with elite physical tools who just needed the right situation. He wasn't a flashy name out of Duke, barely recruited out of high school, but he became a 3-year starter who threw for over 8,200 yards with 52 touchdowns, rushed for over 1,300 yards with 17 rushing touchdowns, and earned MVP honors at both the Senior Bowl and the Independence Bowl. In that Independence Bowl performance against Temple, Jones went 30 of 41 for 423 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's the kind of performance that makes NFL scouts pay attention. The Giants were a disaster heading into 2019. They'd gone 5-11 the year before and were watching Eli Manning's legendary career wind down with nothing but disappointment. They were desperate for hope, desperate for someone who could bring them back to relevance, which is why general manager Dave Gettleman shocked the football world by taking Jones with the 6th overall pick, passing on Dwayne Haskins and ahead of guys like Drew Lock. Most analysts had Jones projected as a second-round pick at best. The Giants took him 6th overall with a 4-year rookie contract worth $25.664 million, with a $16.7 million signing bonus. They gave him the keys to a franchise that had won 2 Super Bowls in the previous decade. This was supposed to be the next chapter of Giants' greatness. Jones started his NFL career on the bench behind Eli Manning. But after 2 ugly losses to start the season, head coach Pat Shurmur made the switch in Week 3 against Tampa Bay. And let me tell you, if you only watched that first start, you would have thought the Giants had found their franchise savior. Jones went 23 of 36 for 336 yards with 2 passing touchdowns. He added 2 more rushing touchdowns. The Giants came back to win 32-31. Jones became the first Giants rookie quarterback to win his debut since Scott Brunner in 1980. He had a passer rating of 112.7. This was the Daniel Jones that Gettleman had promised. Then reality set in. In Week 4 against Washington, Jones threw 3 interceptions. In Week 6 against New England, he threw 3 more picks and fumbled once. The turnovers became a massive problem. By the end of his rookie season, Jones had thrown 12 interceptions and fumbled the ball 18 times, losing 11 of them. That 18 fumbles was tied for the 5th most fumbles by any player in a single season in NFL history. The worst moment was probably Week 12 against the Bears, on a cold November day at MetLife Stadium. Jones fumbled the ball on the Giants' first offensive play. Then he threw a pick 6 to Ha-Ha Clinton-Dix. Then he fumbled again in the second quarter. By halftime, the Giants were getting destroyed with Jones looking completely overwhelmed. But in the final game of 2019 against Washington, Jones looked a lot more like the quarterback everybody thought he would be. He threw for 352 yards and 5 touchdowns with 0 interceptions. The Giants won 41-35 in overtime. Jones became the first rookie in NFL history to throw for 350-plus yards with 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in a game. He was only the 5th rookie quarterback ever to throw 5 touchdowns in a single game. Level 2. Heading into 2020, Jones had a ton to prove. He'd thrown 24 touchdown passes, which led all rookies, and set a Giants rookie record with 3,027 passing yards. But the fumbles and turnovers meant nobody was ready to call him a franchise quarterback yet. The Giants brought in new head coach Joe Judge from the Patriots and offensive coordinator Jason Garrett, the former Dallas Cowboys head coach. The Giants started 5-7 in 2020. Jones threw for 2,943 yards with 11 touchdowns and only 10 interceptions. His completion percentage stayed steady at 62.5%. The fumbles decreased from 18 to 11, showing progress. The Giants finished 6-10 and missed the playoffs. But then, they lost their final 4 games in a row. The offense completely stalled out in December. Jones threw only 1 touchdown in those final 4 games combined. 2021 was supposed to be Jones's breakout year. The Giants named him a team captain. Week 1 against Denver, they won 27-13. Through Week 2, Jones had thrown for over 500 yards with 1 touchdown and 0 interceptions. Then, Week 3 happened. The Giants got destroyed 17-14 against Atlanta. They lost 5 of their next 7 games. But in Week 7 against Carolina, Jones had his best performance of the season. He threw for a career-high 402 yards with 2 touchdowns. During that game, Jones had one of the most memorable runs in recent NFL history. On a 3rd and 9 play, Jones took off on a scramble and looked like he was going to score an 88-yard touchdown. His top speed was clocked at 21.23 miles per hour, but about 10 yards from the end zone, Jones tripped over his own feet and fell down untouched. The replay went viral. Vanilla Vick, they started calling him. Jones finished with 2,428 passing yards, 10 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions in 11 games before suffering a neck injury. The Giants went 4-7 in games he started. Level 3. 2022 was supposed to be a lost season for the Giants. They'd fired Joe Judge after going 4-13. They brought in Brian Daboll from Buffalo. The Giants also declined Jones's 5th-year option in April 2022, which meant he was entering a contract year with 0 long-term security. ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr. said before the season, Daniel Jones has been completely underwhelming. The Giants need to be looking at quarterback in the 2023 draft. That was the prevailing narrative. Jones was done in New York. Through his first 4 games, Jones had thrown for only 869 yards with 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. In Week 7 against Jacksonville in London, Jones only completed 6 of 15 pass attempts in the first half. His completion percentage was 40%. But somehow the Giants kept surviving. They won that Jacksonville game 23-17 thanks to their defense. 5 years into his career, the narrative was still the same. Flashes of competence mixed with terrible stretches of mediocrity. Going into the final stretch of the season, the Giants were 7-4 and needed wins to secure a playoff spot. Level 4. Week 13 against Washington, Jones threw for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns with 95 rushing yards. The Giants won 2012. Then in Week 14 against Philadelphia, they won 48-22. Jones had 217 passing yards with 0 turnovers. Then came the playoffs. Wild card weekend at home against the 13-4 Minnesota Vikings. Jones threw for 301 yards with 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. He added 78 rushing yards. The Giants won 31-24. This was a clean game in a high-pressure environment. Over the final stretch of 2022, including playoffs, Jones threw for 1,872 yards with 11 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. For the full 2022 season, Jones rushed for 708 yards, which broke the NFL record for most rushing yards by a quarterback in a single season. He made the Pro Bowl and finished 7th in MVP voting. On March 10, 2023, the Giants signed Daniel Jones to a 4-year, $160 million contract extension with $82 million fully guaranteed. The deal made him the 9th quarterback to breach the $40 million per year threshold. Level 5. But 2023 turned into an absolute disaster. Week 1 against Dallas on Sunday Night Football, the Giants got embarrassed 40-0. Jones was pressured 23 times and sacked 7 times. Jones only played 6 games in 2023, going 1-5 as a starter. He threw for 909 yards with 2 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. His passer rating fell to 70.5. Then in Week 9 against the Las Vegas Raiders, Jones suffered a torn ankle in the first quarter. His season was over. The $160 million quarterback had lasted 6 games before a devastating knee injury. The Giants finished 6-11. 2024 was supposed to be Jones's redemption year after recovering from ankle surgery. The Giants drafted receiver Malik Nabers 6th overall. But Jones played 10 games and went 2-8 as a starter. He threw for 2,070 yards with 8 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. On November 18, 2024, the Giants benched Daniel Jones for backup Tommy DeVito. 4 days later, on November 22, Jones requested his release from the Giants. Jones's final record with the Giants was 24-44-1. Among quarterbacks with at least 50 starts since 2019, Jones had the lowest winning percentage in the NFL. On November 29, 2024, Daniel Jones signed with the Minnesota Vikings practice squad. He never appeared in a game. He was 27 years old with a reputation as one of the biggest draft busts in recent memory. Level 6. Then on March 13, 2025, the Indianapolis Colts signed Daniel Jones to a one-year $14 million deal. It was a prove-it contract with a team that had Anthony Richardson, the hyper-athletic but wildly inconsistent second-year quarterback. The Colts wanted competition, Jones wanted redemption, and in training camp, Jones beat out Richardson for the starting job. Then in Week 6, Richardson suffered a freak orbital fracture and was placed on injured reserve. Daniel Jones was the unquestioned starter. And for the first 2 months of the 2025 season, Daniel Jones looked like the quarterback everyone thought he'd be when the Giants drafted him 6th overall back in 2019. The Colts started 7-1 with Jones as the starter. He completed 71.2% of his passes with 13 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions through 8 weeks. He looked decisive, accurate, and confident. The Colts' offense was on pace to set franchise records. Jones was executing Shane Steichen's play-action system perfectly, using his legs to extend plays and hitting receivers down the field. In Week 3 against Baltimore, Jones threw for 315 yards, with 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, in a 31-27 win. In Week 5 against Houston, he threw for 298 yards, with 2 touchdowns, in a dominant 34-17 victory. In Week 7 against Miami, Jones threw for 287 yards with 2 touchdowns, and added 52 rushing yards. This was the version of Daniel Jones that made scouts fall in love with him coming out of Duke. This was the player the Giants thought they were getting. This was a clean stretch where Jones was executing at the highest level of his career. This was the first time in his 7-year career that Jones really proved he could be a winning NFL quarterback with competent coaching and a functional system. This is when people started to believe the Giants had given up on him too early. Then in Week 9, Jones suffered a hairline fracture in his left fibula. The injury wasn't severe enough to sideline him completely, but it severely limited his mobility. Jones tried to play through it because the Colts were in playoff position. But you could see the difference. His scrambling ability disappeared. His pocket movement became stiff. Over the next 4 games, the Colts went 1-3. Jones's completion percentage dropped to 61.9%. He threw 6 touchdowns against 4 interceptions. His passer rating fell from 105.3 in the first 8 weeks to 84.6. The offense sputtered. What had looked like a magical redemption season was starting to fall apart again. Then came Sunday, December 8, 2025. Week 14 against Jacksonville. A rainy, miserable day where the field conditions were terrible. The Colts needed a win to stay in playoff position. Jones needed to prove he could still perform despite the fibula injury. In the first quarter, the Colts faced 3rd and 8 from their own 27-yard line. Jones took the snap from shotgun, dropped back 5 steps, and as he planted his right foot to throw, his Achilles tendon completely ruptured. Non-contact injury. Jones immediately grabbed the back of his leg and went down. Trainers rushed onto the field. You could see it on Jones's face that he knew exactly what had happened. He'd torn his right Achilles tendon. Jones was carted off the field. Within a week, he underwent surgery to repair the torn Achilles. The recovery timeline was 6 to 8 months. The Colts fell to 8-5 after starting 8-2 and finished the season 8-9, missing the playoffs by 1 game. Daniel Jones finished the 2025 season with career-best numbers across the board. He completed 68% of his passes, the highest mark of his career. He threw for 3,101 yards with 19 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. His passer rating was 100.2, his yards per attempt was 8.1, both career highs. He averaged 238.5 yards per game. He'd proven in 13 games with Indianapolis that he could be a winning NFL quarterback when given competent coaching and a system that played to his strengths. But the Achilles injury ended everything just when Jones had finally silenced his critics. Level 7. After the injury, Colts general manager Chris Ballard said, "Daniel Jones has got a really bright future here in Indianapolis. What he showed this season before the injury was exactly what we hoped for when we signed him. We're going to do everything we can to bring him back." Ballard's comments suggested the Colts would either re-sign Jones as a free agent or potentially use the franchise tag. Jones is expected to be ready for the 2026 training camp based on typical Achilles recovery timelines. At 28 years old, he still has several productive years ahead of him if he can return to his 2025 form. But Achilles injuries have ended or severely diminished countless NFL careers. A month ago, people were talking about Daniel Jones as a legitimate comeback player of the year candidate who'd resurrected his career with the Colts. And I will admit, I was starting to believe in him again. Now I get why people were so excited about what he was doing in Indianapolis. 7 years of watching him struggle in New York, then seeing him dominate with a competent organization, made the redemption story feel real. But man, over the 13 games he played in 2025, he looked legitimately great. He finished with career-high marks in completion percentage, passer rating, and efficiency metrics across the board. Right now, after surgery, he's facing 6 to 8 months of grueling rehabilitation with no guarantee he'll ever be the same player. Now, the real question is, can Daniel Jones come back from this Achilles injury and pick up where he left off? Can we expect the Colts to commit long-term to a 28-year-old quarterback coming off major surgery? And can Jones finally stay healthy for a full season and lead Indianapolis to the playoffs in 2026? What do you guys think? Will Daniel Jones come back and prove that 2025 wasn't a fluke? Or is this injury going to derail what looked like the beginning of a legitimate second chapter to his career? Let me know in the comments down below. And hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed the story of one of the most complicated quarterback careers in recent NFL history.